Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Vishnu Dutt, and today we are doing an interesting video. Actually, today we are going to unbox a Cisco's 1200 series switch, and we will be talking about its features also. I think you know that whenever I teach a concept, right, I take analogies from real life. And today also I'm going to take analogies from real life, real characters. For that, we have two characters. We have Anjali and we have Rahul, right? So what we are going to do, we will be understanding what exactly these characters are talking about, and we will try to solve their problem. Okay. So Rahul just want to start its business. And its business is a store where he's going to sell the sporting goods. You name it, right? Maybe it is going to be your cricket bat, cricket ball, then volleyball, football, you name it, and you are going to find that thing in Mr. Rahul's store, right? It is a 1,000 square feet store, right? It is going to have several PCs along with with the sporting goods. Of course, it will be having the networking infrastructure because every store or every small business need connectivity because people anyhow are going to work there. So if that is the case, Rahul want to build its networking infrastructure also. But of course, because its primary business is selling sporting goods, he is not going to spend too much on the networking infrastructure, right? And he understand that Cisco is doing great. Cisco is really great in manufacturing and production of these devices, networking devices. But he also understand that Cisco devices are for big organization, big enterprises, and those are costly, right? And he is discussing this problem with Anjali. And Anjali informed it, Mr. Rahul, although you do not spend much amount in most of the things, but this is fine. I think you are not aware that if you want a Cisco-like product or product from Cisco, you would be amazed to hear this, that Cisco is in the business of creating products for small businesses just like you. And Rahul is really, really happy. So what we are going to do, we will be creating Mr. Rahul's network here with the help of Cisco's product, which are for small and medium-sized business. But to do that, we need to understand what is the meaning of small and medium-sized business. Once we understand that, we need to understand what is the connectivity requirement of such businesses, right? What I'm doing right now is I am discussing the agenda of this video. Once we understand the connectivity requirement of SMBs, means small and medium businesses, I am going to unbox Catalyst 1200 series switch, which is exactly for this purpose, which is exactly for small and medium businesses, right? If you want to understand this switch in detail, then you need to understand few concepts. And I'm absolutely sure that if your background is computer networking, you might know all these concepts. But as you know, I teach everything from scratch, so I will be taking those few concepts. I'm not going to go really deep into that, but to understand this switch, you need to understand that concept. If you know them well, that is perfectly fine. Once we understand this switch, what we are going to do, we will be creating this small network of Mr. Rahul's store network with the help of this switch. Once it is done, I will take you inside this switch, right? What exactly the software looks like and how exactly we are going to configure it, right? Once this is done, I will be talking about various switch models. So if you give me your next 20 to 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, all these things means you can understand Cisco's small and medium sized business products, right? And you can use them. So having said that, let's move to the first board where I would like to explain what is the meaning of small and medium sized business. So as I mentioned, Mr. Rahul is opening his store, right? It's a 1,000 square feet store. So there are so many things here. You can see the cricket bats are here, the basketballs are here, and the other means t-shirts, you name it, right? You are going to get it from Mr. Rahul's shop. Interestingly, when the customer come to Mr. Rahul store, they are going to bill it, right? And that is where Mr. Rahul is going to have some point of sales, right? And point of sale software. So I think you must have noticed that whenever you go to store, you buy something, you just go for the billing, right? And there is a small PC where this system is running, and we call that system as a point of sale, right? You all have noticed, but believe me, these point of sale system are connected with each other. It might be the case that the software, right, is running on a particular server you cannot see here, but it may be inside somewhere in this store, maybe in this room, right? And there the server is Mr. Rahul has put the server, and they're running the point of sale software here, where all these different point of sales come and connect. It means these devices, these computers are connected with each other, right? Mr. Rahul, if I showcase you what exactly inside this store in terms of networking device, in terms of computers, we will find some point of sales, right? Because Rahul and Anjali comes with their laptop, so we have few laptop also. right? Mr. Rahul is so peculiar about the security. So he wants that his store is always safe. So he has bought some cameras also, right? These are IP cameras. Of course, they have the server. And we have printer to print some of the things. So if you see a small store like this, right, you can see all these things. You can see the personal computers, you can see the laptops, you can see the server, of course, few cameras, maybe 3 or 4 cameras, and maybe 1 or 2 printer also, right? In this case, only 1 printer. Do you see any requirement of any other thing? Yes, of course, because many customers will come here. They will buy the device, and sometime customer try to access the network or the wireless network of this store. Maybe you want to access the network. You might be thinking that although every phone nowadays is having 4G, 5G connectivity, but if you get something free, you want to connect with it. You all know about it, right? And that is why Mr. Rahul wants to have a provision so that his customers, his guests, right, can connect to its network wirelessly. So this is kind of the networking infrastructure demanded by any business. This could be any startup also. This is so if you count about the number of people here, maybe 4 people which are working on this point of sale, right? Like the who is part of the billing. Then maybe 2, Anjali and Rahul, because they are opening this store. Then we have 1 server, maybe 3 cameras, and maybe 1 printer, right? If you add them, 4 plus 2, 6, 7, 10, 11. 11 devices are there, right? And of course, if somebody comes, right, if a customer comes, they would like to connect their mobile phone, their tablet with this network. So it might be the case that there are 20 guests at a point on this store. So maybe there are 30 to 35 devices in this store at a particular moment of time. We need a networking infrastructure for this. And you must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, if that is the case, then why can't we use our home network? Means we can just put a wireless router connected to the internet and everybody is going to connect with it. Believe me, your home network is suitable for 3 or 4 people, maybe 5, maybe 6 people at a time. But when these number of devices grows, their demand grows, right? For example, here, the business at risk, if this point of sales are not able to connect to this server, right? And if they are not able to do the transaction, it is going to be a problem, right? And you do not want to take risk. You do not want to create problem into this network. And that is why we need something which can connect all this thing and which is reliable also. It is a very important piece, reliability, right? And I'm not sure whether you know about this, but recently I posted on LinkedIn. Then there was one router who was up and running for last 18 years, and that router was from Cisco. Consider the reliability of Cisco products, right? And it is a boon for Mr. Rahul that Cisco is now offering pocket-friendly products for small and medium businesses, and we will be talking about that. First thing first, the connectivity requirement is that Mr. Rahul wants that all the devices should interconnect with each other. They should be able to share data with each other. And to see that, what exactly Mr. Rahul is doing, they want to connect all of his devices, right? And of course, these are the wireless devices. So there must be some way through which this wireless device can connect to these wired devices. These are the point of sales, or maybe any personal computer if it is some other business, right? We have printer here, we have IP camera here, and we have a server here. These are connected to a box. But what is inside this box? Believe me, inside this box, we have a Cisco product for small and medium-sized business. We are taking the example of small business, right? Mr. Rahul is having the small business, right? So what we are going to do next, we will be opening this, right? Opening this box, and we want to understand how this box will be able to connect my IP camera with the server, right? With this printer, with this all point of sales, how it is going to happen. And if you understand networking, if you have spent some time, you must know till now that inside this box, there is going to be a switch, right? But the important piece is to connect this switch. Cisco has created its product, which is known as Cisco's Catalyst 1200 series, right? And what I'm going to do next, I will be unboxing that Cisco Catalyst 1200 series switch. 2 days back, Cisco sent me its Catalyst 1200 series switch. And believe me, I'm so curious to open it. And I would like to showcase you what are the things which I got in the box. But where is the box? Here is the box. Wow. Okay, so let's see what we get inside this. So here you go. Let's unbox it. So wow. we got the Catalyst 1200 series switch. Okay, so this is the switch, and let me put it here. What do we have in this box along with the switch? Okay, we got the power cable here, and here you go. We have some screws, right? These screws are here so that I can mount this switch. Let me talk a little bit about this switch. Here we have 8-port switch, but you must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, this is not 8-port. This is more than 8 ports. If you see here, we have 8 ports here and extra ports here. So these are the ports which we are going to use for uplink. Believe me, I am going to explain each and every feature of this switch in the whiteboard session. We are going to talk what exactly or how exactly we will be using this in a small business environment. Okay, so if you're curious, let's go on the whiteboard session back. I think you must love the unboxing of Catalyst 1200 series switch, but now what we are going to do, if you need to understand this switch features, you need to understand some basic concepts. And I'm again saying that if you are from the networking background, you can skip next 5 or 6 minutes, but believe me, if you are not, if you are absolutely oblivion about computer networking, just try to spend 4 or 5 more minutes on understanding that what exactly this switch offers. Yeah, so let's see what are these important concepts, right? What is happening here is we are trying to understand some concept, and here you can see first thing is understanding what is the meaning of this GBPS. I think the full form is gigabit per second, means how many gigabits of traffic, not gigabyte, and that is why this B is small. How many gigabits of traffic the switch can take, right? As I mentioned in my during unboxing, that it has approximately, not approximately, it has exactly 8 data ports, which you can see here, right? And it has 2 uplink. What is the meaning of uplink? Do not worry, I'll talking about it. So right now, if I talk about this one single port of that switch, one single opening of that switch, right? They mention this is 1 Gbps. It means that it can carry 1 gigabits per second in one direction. What is the meaning? The meaning is simple. The meaning is if this computer want to send some data, it can send the data at the speed of 1 gigabits per second. In 1 second, 1 gigabit. And you all know that this computer can send 1 gigabits of traffic and it can receive 1 gigabits of per second of traffic. It means that there are going to be per port 2 Gbps capacity, right? And this is also known as this port capacity. So the port capacity is 2 Gbps, right? It's interesting. But if we talk about how many ports are here, we have 8 ports, 8 data ports here, and 2 uplink ports. What about these 2 ports? Do not worry, I will be talking about when I discuss the uplink. Okay. Now, if I showcase you one thing, that we have 8 ports plus 2 uplink ports. And I mentioned that one port is capable of handling 2 Gbps of traffic. So what is the switching capacity? How much traffic this switch can pass through it in a second, right? It is going to be 8 into 2 because one port is having 2 Gbps. So it means that 16 Gbps of traffic plus 2 uplink ports, it means that's 4, 2 into 2, 4. And if we add them, it is going to be 20 Gbps. It means that this switch, right? Or if somebody is talking about a switch which is of 20 Gbps capacity, it means that it is able to carry this much of traffic through it in 1 second. So do not worry about this word switching capacity. Now, the second term which you have heard a lot about, this power over Ethernet. What is the meaning? The meaning is sometimes when you want to connect a device, maybe it's an IP camera to a switch, right? There are 2 ways. What you can do is you can connect, you can first of all give this power to this switch. Maybe you have a socket and you have this cable, and through this socket, you are going to provide the power to this camera, right? And try to understand if you have so many so many cameras, then arranging this kind of socket, it's going to add some more cost, right? Wouldn't it be nice if the switch is capable of providing the power to this, right? And we know that this green color cable is known as Ethernet. And if we can send the power over this Ethernet, right, then we can say this hole of the switch or this port of the switch is capable of sending power also, or we can say it is power over Ethernet. So this switch I will be talking about, it's capable of doing uh, power over Ethernet plus. What is the meaning of plus? The meaning of plus is it can carry up to 30 watt of power. Believe me, and this 30 watt of power is capable of working with many of the devices, including the IP cameras, right? So you do not need any of such sockets or the power cables. Only Ethernet can work. Interesting, right? Other interesting thing is that this switch is also capable of creating multiple networks. If you are aware of the switching or the switching concept, you know that one switch can create one local area network, right? But if what we are going to do means if we need two networks, for example, in Mr. Rahul's store, what is going to happen if he needs one network for the guest and one network for his employee or the PCs or the point of sale system? If that is the case, he needs two systems. And if he has only one switch, how it is going to happen? Basically, we can create multiple network over a single switch. And these multiple networks are known as VLANs. And this switch is capable of doing routing between these two networks. Generally, if we have two different networks, we need a router to connect these two networks. But this switch can do the networking or routing between these two VLANs also. It is capable of doing static routing also, right? But it doesn't do NAT. If you don't understand NAT, that is perfectly fine. But some of you might understand this, right? If we talk about security, yeah, Mr. Rahul is so peculiar about security also along with the money, right? He's saying that my network should be secure. Whoever is joining my network, right? He should be authenticated. He should be the legitimate person. He should be my employee or maybe the guest. If it is a guest, he should be connecting to the guest network. So how he is going to do that? So there is a term in the security which is known as .1x authentication, which is a powerful security mechanism to authenticate somebody. Means if somebody is joining your network, you can ask or you can ask him to give its credential and so many things. If you want to do that, this type of capability is also there into this switch, right? And now there are two more concepts which I would like to tell you along with everything, right? You must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, see, Mr. Rahul and Anjali have wireless laptops, right? Of course. And you have showcased me the product which needs wire, right? What is going to happen with the devices which do not need this Ethernet wire? Maybe the mobiles from the customer, maybe the tablet from the customer, and maybe Anjali's device and Rahul device. How they are going to connect with the network, right? And that is where one extra device is required, which is known as access point. Maybe you can include or you can put your wireless router here also, right? So this device actually can create a wireless network. And over this wireless network, all of these devices which are capable of doing wireless can connect easily. But the important point is if you see this wireless access point, right? Behind this, there is a wire, which is the Ethernet wire, which is eventually connected to the switch. So maybe one printer can be connected here, a server can be connected here, and the POS or the point of sale system can be connected here. But over this one Ethernet interface, if we connect an access point or the wireless device, many systems or many devices can be connected, right? And this device has the capability to connect with the wireless device, right? Now, as I was mentioning during the unboxing, right, that there are two or maybe four ports which are so generally we are calling it 8-port switch because we have 8 data ports, and then we have these 4 ports, and we are calling it an uplink. So basically, the meaning of uplink is that you, at the end of the day, if you have created multiple networks using this switch, right, using VLANs, you need to connect your network or your devices eventually to the internet also. For example, in future, if you want to have another store, right, and if you want to get the sales of another store also maybe into the cloud, you need to connect to the internet. Or maybe your employees, Anjali, Rahul, and your customers are going to connect with the internet. If that is the case, your network needs to be connected to the internet. So we need to connect this switch to a router, because router can be connected to the internet, right? And it can do the efficient routing, right? Or maybe the firewall you can put here. So when you connect your switch with a router, it means that you want to go into different network, maybe towards the internet. And this link is known as your uplink, right? Why there are two uplink? Maybe you can connect to another router also, which is connected to another service provider, right? For the redundancy sake, you can do that too. Or maybe you can use the ether channel. What is the ether channel? If you do not know, believe me, I have created a lot of videos on these concepts. Whatever the concept I'm talking about, there are many videos I have created on my YouTube channel. So if you have a little bit interest in starting in computer networking, it is there, but it is absolutely easy, believe me. So this connectivity between the switch and the router is going to be your uplinks, right? Why there are two? Because, and you must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, you have another two. I will be talking about it, don't worry, when we talk about the switch itself. Many people can ask me that, Mr. Vishnu, if that is the case, then why do we need a router? Why can't we connect directly the switch to internet? We can, right? But Cisco is not giving me one specific functionality, which is definitely required to connect your private network, because these are your private networks, to the internet, right? And that capability is network address translation. If we do not have network address translation, my private network cannot connect to the internet. If you again do not know about this, believe me, I have again created a video for it. Just have a look at it. Okay. Now, if you understand all these things, wireless network, PoE, right? Uplink, VLANs, what is the meaning of GBPS? Then you are in total control, or you have the basis to understand the feature of this switch. So overall, when I showcase you, this switch looks like this, right? What exactly the switch is, switch have? Let me change the pen, maybe this one, right? So first of all, this switch has this reset button, means whatever you do, and after doing, you do not like the configuration or whatever, right? You can reset it to the factory default using pressing this button, right? We have USB and Type C, and believe me, you can connect a Bluetooth dongle here, and you can use this Bluetooth connection to configure this device. Means it is a console also. And if you are aware of the switch, right? Every switch comes with a console port. Means you just need to connect the cable, which is a console cable, and then you need to connect this cable to your PC, and then you can control the switch. As simple as that. After that, it has these 8 1 Gbps ports, right? It means that the total capacity is going to be 16 Gbps. And now you understand the uplink also. So these two holes, right? Or RJ45 connectors, right? These two ports are actually uplink ports. So again, one port can carry 2 Gbps in both the direction. So two ports can carry 4 Gbps, and that is why I was mentioning the switch capacity is 20 Gbps. And now you must be thinking, Mr. Vishnu, what these two ports are for? So these are actually SFP ports. Sometime you need to connect your switch to maybe an optical cable, right? And here we have the Ethernet cable, right? So basically the Cisco is providing you more functional, or you can say it is providing you the option to connect to various types of connectors, right? But interestingly, they are calling it the combo port. It means that if you connect these two, these are also 1 Gbps, then these two are not going to be active, and vice versa, right? But you can have one copper, or basically RJ45 port, and one SFP also, right? But you cannot use all the four. Maybe you can use maximum 2 out of them. That is it. Okay, so that is why the total capacity is 8 ports here, means 16 Gbps, and then 4 Gbps from these two uplink ports. So it means that total capacity is going to be 20 gigabits per second. As simple as that, right? All these 8 ports, whatever we are seeing from 1 to 8, these ports are actually capable of doing PoE plus, right? Means they are able to send 30 watt of power, not all 8, right? The total capacity is 120, means out of the 8, only 4 can be used as PoE plus, but they all support PoE plus. The total capacity cannot be more than 120 watt, right? If PoE plus means 30 watt, then there is a technology just before PoE, which is a PoE plus, which is PoE. It was used to send only 15 point something, right? Watt of power. It means that if we need power a little bit less than this, it also supports. So PoE plus is supported, and it is backward compatible also, right? I have also mentioned you regarding these USB ports, Bluetooth connectivity, and all the things. So this is how the switch looks like overall, right? So what we are going to do now, I would like to take you that how we are going to create using this switch, right? We would like to create the network for Mr. Rahul, right? Because this is the whole point. Mr. Rahul wanted this complete network to be up and running, reliable, secure, and cost effective also. Means pocket friendly also. And this is what we are doing. We have just bought Cisco's 1200 series product or switch for Mr. Rahul, small network. And now what is happening? We have camera, which we have connected to the one data port. We have this access point also, right? Which we have connected to the second port of the switch. Then we have this point of sales, which we have connected maybe two or maybe three. We can always connect them. And then we have another printer, the server. One uplink port is connected to this router. And what is this router? We are not going to talk about it. Maybe in successive videos of this series, I will be telling you, or I will be mentioning that how we can create the entire full-fledged network for the small and medium businesses. But right now we have only this switch. And you understand that if we connect all the devices to this switch and configure the IP addresses on these devices, right? All these devices are going to communicate with each other. And this is how switch works, right? So, maybe if Mr. Rahul comes, that's fine that you have connected all these devices. I'm able to get the internet and my point of sales are communicating with the server, my printer, and everything is working fine, right? The point is, I want that whenever these guests come with their mobile phones, right? I want that they should be part of some different network. And I definitely can create that, right? Because the switch supports VLAN, so I can put all these guests in one VLAN and my company's laptop and everything in the server in the other VLAN. As simple as that. Easy, right? Without any doubt. So see how easy, right, to create the setup with this network. But now I would like to showcase you that how we are going to configure this device, right? And it is really, really easy. So I would like to showcase you, first of all, the setup which I have created to configure this switch. So what I have done, I have this switch, right, which I recently unboxed, and then connected this switch with the power cable. And this power cable was there in the box, right? And when you do that, you will see the green light here. If it is blinking, it means that the system has assigned the IP address to the switch. And this IP address is 192.168.1.254. And if you understand a little bit of networking, a little bit of IP addressing, right? This is /24. What do you need to do? If you want to access this switch, you need to have a PC. And this PC IP address should be from this network. Maybe you can have the IP address 192.168.1.50/24. Once you do that, just open the browser in this PC and just write 192.168.1.254. And believe me, you will be seeing that beautiful graphical user interface of this switch. And that is the place where you can configure all the things. You can configure your VLANs, right? You can configure you can configure maybe what should be the setting, how it is going to connect to the uplink. All the things are there. What should be the band and everything, right? And if you do not want to do the configuration from the GUI, there is an option to the configuring from the console, because most of the people like to put the commands instead of GUI if you are network engineer, right? So without wasting any time, let's go and check how the graphical user interface of this device, right, looks like. So now let's see how we are going to access the GUI or the graphical user interface of this switch. It's really easy. The connection part we have just discussed. Now what I'm doing is I have just opened my browser and I am writing down the IP address 192.168.1.254 here. Really simple, right? And it is mentioned in the documentation of this switch that when you connect it, it is going to get this IP address, or it is going to configure this IP address on its own. I'm just doing the enter. Let's see. So I think, yeah, so we are getting this connection is not private. So that is fine. We are not talking about security for now. So what I'm going to do, advance and proceed to 192.168.1.254. So straight away, it is saying just put your username and password. So I am going to put the default username and password, which is Cisco and Cisco. Really strong password, right? No, it is not. And I would say that when we log into this device will let me, the first thing which it should do is it should guide me how to change this default password. And this is exactly what this switch is doing, right? So right now processing data is 70%, 80%. But when I get enter into this switch, the first thing it is going to do, yeah, see, it is saying change default user. So what I'm doing here is I am saying my username is admin, and now the password is, here you go. I have put the password, and here you can see we have apply management. That is fine, but it is now asking that you should enter now with the new username and password, and this is what I'm going to do. So my new username is admin and password which I defined, and here you go. Let me see what's going to happen next. It is saying getting started. So basically for initial setup, if you wanted to change the IP address, right now the IP address you all know is 192.168.1.254, through which I am right now accessing this switch, but you can change it, right? You can create VLANs, you can configure port setting, you can see the status of the device, and so many quick access link also. But where exactly we are? We are into the getting started portion here, right? But believe me, this switch has a lot of things. You can configure your small business network really easy. But we need to understand each and everything, what exactly it is offering you. And for the initial or the small business setup, it is not the requirement that you should understand each and everything, whatever is showcasing by this UI. No, absolutely not. But I am just saying that it is really good that if you have a little bit of understanding about this complete switch, right? So you can see here we can check status and statistics, status about the device. Then administration is there, port management means you all know that we have 8+2 ports here, 2 are uplinks, 8 are the normal ports, and how we are going to manage them. We can create the VLANs, right, for our different groups. What about the spanning tree, right? If you do not know about spanning tree, that is perfectly fine. As I mentioned previously also, I have created lots and lots of videos on all these topics, individual topics. If you are curious to understand that why we have all these things, right? You can just go and check the videos on my YouTube channel. Then we have multicast configuration, IPv4 configuration, and so on. But believe me, at the end of the day, with this switch, we are just connecting all of our devices. Yes, if you have little bit understanding of networking, you can do a lot of things. But for the basic connectivity, what you need to do is you just need to connect your switch with all those devices. And believe me, just configure the IP addresses on those devices, and all those devices will interact with each other, as I mentioned previously. One more thing, it is not the case that you have to do all these things using graphical user interface. If you're more comfortable using command line interface, you can also do that. So this is for those who do not know much about command line interface of the switch, right? But if you are an old network engineer or maybe having experience in networking field, believe me, you can just connect a console cable to this switch, and your command line interface will be up and running just like just like the other switches. So now I would like to showcase you some of the settings which we have already on this switch. So we are in the getting started. We were in the getting started. This is my dashboard, and if I showcase you IPv4 configuration, right? Right here, you can see that the switch has already VLAN 1. What is the meaning of VLAN 1? I think you should know about it. If not, just see some of my videos. And that it is saying by default means if it doesn't get the IP address from DHCP, the Cisco switch is going to get the IP address or configure the IP address on its own, and it configures this IP address 192.168.254. Right? So this is not the magic that from where exactly this IP address is coming. This is how this switch is configured. This is how this switch is programmed, right? We can also configure VLANs, right? For example, you all know that when a switch comes, it has the default VLAN in it, which is a VLAN number 1, right? All the ports belongs to VLAN number 1. It means that when we connect all the devices, those are going to be part of VLAN number 1, and they start communicating with each other. But believe me, if you have multiple groups, as I was discussing, one group is marketing group, one is the guest group, you can create it multiple networks or VLANs. And this is the point where you can create multiple VLANs. You just need to give the VLAN ID, VLAN name, right? And so many things. So I do not want to make this video really big, because in one video I just cannot explain each and everything of this switch. But in successive videos, which I'm going to create very soon, you will be seeing how we can add an access point to this switch, right? How we can create VLANs, how we can connect this switch to a router, right? Or the total network which I was talking about. Everything is I'm going to explain this, right? So it seems that you have enjoyed the graphical user interface. If that is the case, I would say let's go to the next board to understand, or to for the last topic of this video. Believe me, there is not only one switch which Cisco offers. So we were talking about this switch only, right? Which is having 8 data ports plus 2 uplink ports, right? Which is having the capacity of 20 Gbps. But what about the scenario in which the point of sale of Mr. Rahul has increased? Maybe now he has 2 printers. Maybe now has 3 servers. If that is the case, this 8 port switch is not capable of meeting its requirement. If that is the case, Cisco offers various switch models in this 1200 series categories. Believe me, what I'm going to do, I will be putting this link where you can go and read more about these switch models. But we have various models. For example, if you count, this is 16 port switch plus 2 uplink port, of course. And then we have here 24 port switch, and then we have 4 uplinks here, and then here we have 48 port switch with 4 uplinks, and you can calculate the total capacity of this switch. So what about next? I will be guiding you that how basically we are going to connect the access point. If I get some other switches, and if I get some other access points also from the Cisco, I will be unboxing them and going to present to you in the future. Thank you so much for being so patient and watching this video till end. Bye for now. See you in the next video.